After Cameroonians went to the polls yesterday to elect their new leader for the next 7 years, today was Operation Ghost Town in the two Anglophone regions of the country as a result of the deepening crisis rocking the northwest and the southwest regions of the country. Mimi Mefo paints a picture of Anglophone Cameroon today.
One day after the presidential election in Cameroon, streets in Bamenda are without vehicles and pedestrians, traders and buyers absent in business premises and markets. On this sunny afternoon in my Frequent, only sounds of birds could be heard. The St. Paul Junction was not any different. Equinoxe television spent over 1 hour at Mendanquen, but the street remained deserted. It is only in this part of Bamenda where a vehicle was spotted and less than a dozen of individuals. Their stay by the roadside was short-lived. At the custom junction, gendarmerie officials were mobilized to maintain security in the area and react in case of any eventuality. In Kumba, the gate of the main market was opened, but it was not business as usual. Sonak Street, Bisek Junction, and the amusement park were empty but calm. The post-election day coincides with the Ghost Town Day observed Mondays in the conflict-hit northwest and southwest regions. This has been a tradition for close to 2 years now.
And yesterday was a busy day across the Republic of Cameroon as citizens headed to the polls to choose a new leader for the country for the next 7 years. The presidential election in Cameroon was adversely affected by the Anglophone crisis in the northwest and the southwest regions of the country. However, it took place in those two regions without any major incident. Derek Jato makes a roundup of election day in the southwest regional chieftown Boya.
7:40 a.m. October 7, 2018. Bilingual Grammar School Moliko Boya Polling Center, accommodating 13 polling stations. The polling agents are waiting for the electoral materials. It is after 8 a.m. The situation is the same at Government Technical High School Moliko Boya. So have you called the LECA?
Yeah, I called, they said they are coming.
8:20 a.m. A military convoy on board some polling agents drove to mile 16, picked up some element and drove back, then took the road to Upper Bolifamba. Bullets will later rain here at mile 16, and we did not know the fate of mile 16 Lower Bolifamba polling center. 9:15 a.m. A military truck drove into OIC Great Support polling center and on board electoral materials. 10 a.m. The news of an attack on a car belonging to Cameroon Tribune breaks. The car was shot at mile 17 hill. The bullet came from the driver's seat, just slightly beside the steering, into the board, then came out from the bonnet. Drawing conclusion from the damages caused, sources say the weapon that was used was a sophisticated one. The tire too was shot. 10:30 a.m. another information came in. The divisional officer for Boya, Mr. Kwamo Campo's convoy, has been attacked at Munya, and the DO has been wounded in the process. Hours later, sources say the DO went to the hospital. He has been treated and discharged. 11 a.m. Governor Bernard Okalia Bilai and wife, Madam Nicole Okalia, arrived at the Court of Appeal polling center to cast their vote, and the divisional officer for Boya is not in the convoy. The heavy military deployment around the southwest governor was total. After performing his civic duty, southwest governor said his impressions are positive. He will also announce how the government is handling the tension on the ground.
All the police stations are open.
And Cameroonians who want to exercise their civic responsibility are going to the polling station like what I've just done. And we have heard that in some area, some terrorists try to intimidate the population, but the defense forces reacted promptly, and everything is going on.
12:30 p.m. The mayor of Boya, Mr. Ekema Patrick Esunga, makes his entrance at Government Technical High School Muliko Boya Polling Center. Gunshots were heard here hours earlier. The mayor will go straight to check his name on the polling station roll. After duly identified, he then went in and cast his vote.
Quite optimistic. Of course, if I sound a little bit calm, is because it took me some time to be able to trace my name on the list, and of course I was a little bit worried. I voted. I'm a very happy man, and from my observation, I see most of the people whom I know who share the same political ideology with me voting.
But the turnout is timid.
I think most people too were observing to see how authorities will vote and see how organized and how the security has been put in place. So the fact that we have carried out this action, I think it's assuring to those who were observing. So I'm sure that in the next couple of minutes we'll find the polling booths being crowded by electorate.
The Ambazonians Defense Forces had vowed that there will be no election, and with the street of Boya now dead, animated only by gunshot, the few that came said they sneaked their way. At press time, a military helicopter was spotted in the sky of Boya, as tension and gunshot were still increasingly heard on the ground.
Voting equally took place in the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon, another part of the country hit by security challenges provoked by militants of the Nigerian terrorist sect Boko Haram. Voting, however, took place in that part of the country hitch-free. However, an observer indicated that voter apathy was not in favor of the election in that part of the country. Details in this report compiled by EQUINOXE.
8 a.m. October 7, all voting materials were already made available at the Artisanal R polling station in Marwa, far north region. Security was heightened, comprising security elements and local vigilante committee members. This to halt any Boko Haram threat, according to Governor Mijiyawa Bakari.
Dans les zones périphériques, dans les zones où j'ai dit régnait Boko Haram.
Many freely moved to the polling station where they verified their names and other official informations on the electoral list pasted before moving in or passing by to exercise their civic responsibility. One of them, Hamadou Umaru, expressed delight.
On peut retenir juste un sentiment de joie et de devoir accompli, c'est un devoir citoyen, venir voter.
With respect of the electoral code, the voting process stopped at exactly 6 p.m. It was accompanied immediately by vote counting. To an observer in Jamare, Muhammadu Mustafa complains of voter apathy.
Bon, j'ai eu à constater que les gens étaient réticents pour voter.
He says the turnout of electors for the October 7, 2018 presidential election was very low as compared to that of 2004 and 2011.
Et je leur ai demandé pourquoi ils ne sont pas partis remplir leur devoir civique.
Speaking to the population, they say the presidential election is not a big deal to them.
Et eux, ils se préparent pour les municipales et les législatives prochaines.
What they await is the municipal election.
And the Minister of Territorial Administration at Tanganji Paul came out shortly after the election ended at 6 p.m. yesterday to evaluate the unfolding of the election across the national territory, and he emphasized on the point that only the Constitutional Council of the Republic of Cameroon is mandated by the law to publish results of the election, and he indicated that no one is authorized to publish not even the trends of the elections. And details in this report compiled by Mimi Mefo.
7 October 2018, Cameroonians participated freely and in all sovereignty.
The Minister of Territorial Administration has described the general conduct of the October 7th presidential election as void of hitches.
This process began with the convening of the electorate on July 9, 2018. 9 candidates were retained by the Electoral Board of Elections Cameroon and confirmed by the Constitutional Council. After the closure of the polling stations, information at their disposal indicate that electoral process generally went on hitch-free in calm, serenity and transparency throughout the national territory.
Minister Paul Atanganji, however, cited 2 cases of what he called minor incidents in the BAM and Inobo and in Baham.
Apart from 2 minor incidents registered in Makenene, BAM and Inobo and Baham, Upper Plateau, where a sympathizer of a political opposition party was found in possession of ballot papers of another candidate, all went well in the 360 subdivisions of Cameroon and the 24,988 police stations.
As he addressed the press on the election night after polls were closed, he sent a warning signal to those who violate the law before the competent institution, which is the Constitutional Council.
I equally wish to emphasize that the official proclamation of results is an exclusive right of Council, and no one has the right to substitute to this legal body. Any form of challenge to the verdict of the polls other than the constitutional legal means will not be tolerated.
Paul Atanganji also challenged political parties to show proof of democracy by accepting the result of the election.
This presidential election, marked by calls by some political parties to respect the results from the polls, demonstrates that democracy in Cameroon is credible and on the move.
Grumbling candidates or parties have 72 hours after the close of the poll to file petition, while the Constitutional Council shall adopt and proclaim the results of the election within 15 days of the close of the poll, as stipulated in Section 137 of the Electoral Code.
And an international non-governmental organization, Transparency International, has equally said the election yesterday in the Republic of Cameroon unfolded hitch-free, despite some irregularities recorded in some polling stations across the country. We have details in this extract.
Cameroonians headed to the polls to choose their president Sunday. ELECAM officials at the Littoral Regional Delegation are busy. They, representatives of the 4 divisions that make up the Littoral region, are working on partial results received from different polling stations that make up subdivisional branches of the institute. According to the regional delegate Emmanuel Kwadika, divisional branches are charged with receiving reports from the subdivisional units for onward transmission to the National Votes Counting Commission within 72 hours, while the division receive reports from the subdivisional branches. Other officials are busy treating complaints forwarded by disgruntled candidates. Emmanuel Kwadika, Littoral Regional Delegate of ELECAM, stated that candidates have a maximum of 72 hours to table their complaints, which should be published within 24 hours by Election Cameroon. The law also demands the accused to respond within 48 hours. The process, if founded on valid proofs, can lead to the total or partial cancellation of the election. If cancellation is the outcome, a new election is expected to be organized within 20 to 40 days, according to the electoral law in Cameroon.
For me, Armstrong Sander reporting on the compilation of results of the presidential election of yesterday in the Republic of Cameroon by the election organizing body Elections Cameroon. Now we come back to Transparency International, which has said that the election unfolded hitch-free despite some irregularities recorded in some police stations across the country. Take a listen.
First of all, I wish you all good luck. That will be wonderful, where you get representation that you deserve and the country move forward. I think the countries, my sense is the country is moving forward in a direction of growing and developing, and it's part of it is having the right representation that can, or management. Let's put down that you need management that will take you that way. No misbehavior, none whatsoever. I would say that when they prepared the poll, they followed the system that they were instructed. As I said, it was very quiet, very polite, very organized, and I didn't see any aberration. I didn't see anything that could lead to non-transparency.
Another African country where citizens will be heading to the polls in the coming months to vote a new president is the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the country's presidential election was shaping up to be a contest between two veteran male politicians, but the candidacy of Obi Ezekwesili could change that, and women have run for the presidency before, but she is the most prominent Nigerian woman to challenge for the top job. Obi Ezekwesili is well known for leading Bring Back Our Girl campaign to help free the 276 girls kidnapped from Chibok, northern Nigeria in 2014. She has also served as the country's education minister and vice president of the World Bank. But come February 2019 vote, it will be a tough challenge to unseat 75-year-old incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari or beat the 72-year-old main opposition candidates Atiku Abubakar. And Muhammadu Buhari and Atiku Abubakar both have formidable political or party machines behind them. At the weekend, President Muhammadu Buhari was nominated by his All Progressive Congress APC, and Abubakar Atiku beat a file of 11 others to become the flag bearer of the People Democratic Party, and the two parties have supplied all of Nigeria's presidents since the end of the military rule in 1999. For Ezekwesili, Obi, the men she is to face represent a mediocre political class that crisis to another. And that's it for the first segment of this edition of the news. Coming up next, Talking Point. Thanks for joining us in Talking Point. We are receiving a senior political scientist, former Minister of Forestry and Wildlife of the Republic of Cameroon, and of course, member of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM political party, Professor Elvis NGOLE NGOLE. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's always good to be here.
Yesterday, you voted in Tombel in the southwest region of the country.
Yes, I did at 10 o'clock, and as a citizen of the Republic, I voted as was expected of all citizens of a country such as ours.
How did the elections unfold in Tombel?
From what I observed and from what I know since, I agree with the observer of Transparency International. It was calm, it was peaceful, and the state services in charge of security and others and territorial administration, I think they did a good job to make sure that there was order, and there was obviously some that were gripped by fear, but as citizens, it's our civic duty to express our free choice. After all, there's freedom in Cameroon, and no one doubts that.
Away from Tombel, in other parts of the southwest region and the northwest region as well, there were some minor incidents, what is qualified as minor incidents, gunshots, attacks on the vehicle of the division officer of Boya, and even in Manfi and other parts of the Anglophone regions.
Yeah, these minor incidents, and indeed minor, are unfortunate because as a republic which has opted for democracy as its own preferred form of government, we understand that we are all diverse, we have diverse opinions, we understand that some are happy at some moment, some are not happy, but at the end of the day, it is our responsibility as citizens of the republic to express at a given moment when the state organizes an election,
to make that free choice. And when we're making that free choice, we understand that we're all diverse, we have different opinions, we have different affiliations, but at the end of the day, an election is not a war. An election is not a competition to destroy. An election is a defining moment to construct, to discover each other, and to find common ground in order that we can be comfortable with whoever.
Now, globally speaking, from a global perspective, as a political scientist, what's your take on the unfolding of the election across the national territory?
Well, my take is that many Cameroonians have shown maturity. I think that there are three main lessons that we see from the way this election has gone on yesterday, or since the campaigns began. First, I think that you can see that Cameroonians are pretty creative and are capable of being creative. I think there was a lot of creativity in this election, and we could see the creativity on the part of Cameroonians, on the part of all the actors. Secondly, I think Cameroonians have shown in this election that while they may not all be that educated, while they may not all have professional jobs, but they are not foolish, they are not stupid. Cameroonians have shown that they are rational, they can be mature, and that no one can deceive them so easily. They know, they understand the issues, and that makes me feel comfortable about our future. And the third lesson that we can learn is that given the minor incidences, which are rather unfortunate, I think that what it shows is that while we are mature, while we are capable, while we are creative, and with the freedom we've got, we still have to be honest and humble enough to know that we still have some perfection to do. We are perfectible. I think that we understand that all of us strive to be perfect, and that what we've seen yesterday in the election is that these minor incidents should not have happened, because they don't need to happen.
Now, they happened. What's the impact these incidents can have on the credibility and the legitimacy of this election and the person who will eventually emerge as a winner in this election?
Now, these minor incidents, as the adjective goes, they are minor, and therefore, because they are minor, they cannot impact or affect the majority opinion or the majority preference or the majority decision, because at the end of the day, democracy is defined as the rule of the majority without ignoring the opinion or the role of the minority. So as a democracy, the minority cannot impose or dictate, and so when you have a minority incident, it's an incident, and because it's in the minority, at the end of the day, the majority has the civic, republican, constitutional responsibility to understand what it is and to find a way, with all the freedom that there is, to manage that incident and to make sure that that sort of incident doesn't occur again. Because
but talking about the legitimacy of a leader, when we look at the fact that there are thousands of people who are in the bushes in the northwest and southwest regions of the country and they did not vote. There are thousands of Cameroonians, hundreds of thousands who are neighboring Nigeria and they did not vote. In the south region, the voting, according to information streamed into our newsroom, was a little timid, meaning that there was something like voter apathy, and in the far north region equally, an observer complained of voter apathy, which means that there is a significant number of Cameroonians of voting age who didn't take part.
Well, as you know, power is that which is based on law, meaning that which is legal, which is backed by legality, meaning that rule backed by the law, and rule backed by, or government backed by the consent of the majority of the people. Now, when you measure legitimacy by the numbers that are in the bush or that have decided not to participate, or that will be a negative way of looking at legitimacy. Legitimacy is a positive thing. That is to say, you look at those who have participated based on freedom, because they're not forced. They participated, and because of that participation, their participation is recognized, acknowledged, and counted. And once that acknowledgement, recognition, and counting takes place, the law requires that the numbers should be published, proclaimed, and declared as legal and legitimate. And so when someone is in the bush, that is to say, decides not to participate, it means that you've decided not to be counted or not to be recognized. And so, no matter whether you are a journalist or whether you are a legal expert or political expert, when you want to measure how legitimate is the decision, how legitimate is the rule, how legitimate is the victory, you base it on the numbers counted, the numbers recognized, the numbers participating. And so what you see at when the proclamation or the publication of results will be made is that you see that the participation rate in the nation was more than 50%, meaning that a majority participated. Therefore, that's legitimacy. Now, when you look at the Northwest and Southwest, the Northwest and Southwest constitute 2 out of the 10 regions of Cameroon. In terms of numbers, it means that if there were problems in if there are problems, because there are, in the 2 of the 10 regions, the 2 of the 10 regions will not render legitimacy illegitimate. No, that's the first thing. And secondly, even in the 2 regions where we know there are problems, because some are in the bushes and some are gripped by fear, you still count those that participated, because those are the ones whose participation is counted. You know, when someone decides not to participate in a republic, in a democracy, non-participation is a negative expression of your sovereignty, of your right to citizenship.
All right, the election has taken place, and now the results have been compiled by Elections Cameroon. What should be done now, and what should not be done by who?
Right. What should be done now is that an election is a process. There is a period before the election, there is the day of the election, and there is the day after the election. The period before the election is when citizens transform themselves into militants of various political associations or affiliations that we call political parties. They act as militants because they wish that their candidate of choice will be the one that will win the vote at the end of the day. They are right to do so, because in a democracy we're all driven by freedom.
Yesterday, the Minister of Territorial Administration made an outing warning against the publication of trends, result trends, and even the result itself, emphasizing that only the Constitutional Council has the authority to do so.
No, the minister was right to do so, because, you know, an election is a democratic test, it's a republican test, and all elections, by definition, in concept, are initiated by a state authority. Not political parties don't initiate elections, individuals don't, citizens don't. It is the state, meaning the ensemble of people, citizens, land, government, regime, that initiate an election, and that are the title holders. And all elections are governed by laws. All elections are governed by standards, by code, by a code of conduct. And once you accept to participate, it means you have accepted the law. You may accepted the code. And the code and the law says that it is only the Constitutional Council that publishes or proclaims. Once you have accepted to participate, it means you have accepted the law. If you decide to proclaim the results or publish the results, you violated the law. You cannot accept the law to participate and refuse to accept the law in its entirety. No, you cannot have your cake and eat it. So the Minister of Territorial Administration is reminding all of us that we were militants before the elections, and on the day of the election, you don't go to the poll as a militant. You go to the poll on the day of the election as a citizen. And after the poll has ended, our job is to make sure that political parties educate that everyone must accept the results, whether they favor you or not. Civil society must accept and educate people that you must accept the results, whether they favor you or not. The media, and I think you are doing a tremendous job, doing your best to to educate people. You know, you go into an election as a militant. On election day, you don't go into the polling booth as a militant. You go into the polling booth as a citizen. And at the end of that ballot, there's no militancy now. It is citizens expecting to hear the results. And once the results are proclaimed, the citizen must accept according to the law, under the law. In
a nutshell, it is forbidden and even destructive to the nation to go on publishing trends and results and so on.
It is against the law, it's destructive to the nation, and as you know, an election is not an end, it's not a finality. The finality or the end is that the nation must remain peaceful, united. And whatever you do on the day of the election, before, on the day and after the election, that injures or places the nation at risk, puts peace, unity at risk, you are against the law, you are against the republic, and you are not being a responsible citizen. And I think we have a duty to be responsible and to be law-abiding. In a nutshell, I'm sure you're confident that your candidate, because of the CPD in Paul Biya, is heading to victory. I will not want to come to that. Professor Elvis NGOLE NGOLE, former member of the Cameroon government, former Minister of Forestry and Wildlife, senior political scientist. Thanks for coming. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of the news. Goodbye.